What's up guys, Braden here with SuperATV, and today I'm going to be showing you how to install SuperATV's aluminum half doors on the CFMoto UForce 1000 XL. So let's get right to it. So the first thing you're gonna do is come over to your machine and remove all of your door nut hardware. So you'll have a bolt here, here, you'll have two down on the bottom, which those will be Allen's. And you're also gonna remove your buckle, which will be mounted on the inside of the cage here with two 10mm bolts. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove all the hardware. Again, this buckle will just be mounted right inside the cage here. We're gonna grab a 5mm Allen, remove these. This bolt that we remove out of this hole, we'll go ahead and leave it removed. This one right here, we're gonna go ahead and reinstall that. We'll have a door stopper that goes here, so you just discard this hardware. So now moving on to the front, we're gonna go ahead, since we already have our 5mm Allen, go ahead and remove our door nuts off the bottom. Again, we'll reinstall the front Allen for the door nut. Then remove this rear one and leave it removed. Our door stopper will go there. We're going to transition back to our 10mm socket. And we can take our door nut and our hardware that we're not going to reuse and throw it in the bed. And we'll come here to our buckle. Go ahead and remove it. Then we're going to come right beside the seat and remove these Allens as well. Same thing on the rear. Then we're going to go ahead and remove our factory side view mirror. We'll discard the hardware and then we'll just set our mirror to the side for the time being. Now we're going to grab our front striker bracket. We are working on the passenger side. Just what you want to do to check to make sure you have the right bracket is lay it up there and it'll fit snugly up against the cage right here on this bend. And then you're just going to take your mirror and line it right up with your bracket. Take your M8 by 1.25 by 30mm hex head bolt out of the hardware kit. Just line it up. Just go ahead and get that hardware good and started into the cage. And anytime you're installing doors, you never want to fully tighten your hardware until you have everything adjusted. So we're just going to run these up by hand, just enough to where it kind of holds that mirror. Just like that, but we still have our adjustment on our striker bracket there. So we'll just leave those just like this. Now we're going to grab our striker, our two nuts for our striker, and our one lock washer. So grab your nut, one of the nuts here, and just run this up like so. And then we're going to slide it through. And first we're going to put on our lock washer. And then take the other nut. And I like to just kind of thread my striker to it. Now obviously we're going to have to make quite a bit of adjustments on that, but I'm just going to put it in there for now, so now I know where it's at. So now we're going to grab the right side lower mount. The right and left will look the same. other than this little angle here on this bracket needs to be facing out no matter what, whichever side you're working on. We'll lay that in place, line it up with our threaded holes that we previously removed the factory hardware from. We're gonna grab the M6 hardware out of the kit with the hex head. And we're just gonna start this hardware in. We're not gonna tighten it, we're just gonna get a couple threads started. We will have to manipulate this around. Just like so. And then we have our right rear mount. We're gonna use our same M6 hardware. Just gonna lay just like so. So that the tab is facing out, just like we did on the front. All right guys, so for this next step, what we're gonna do is remove just a couple push pins out of the back side of the side panel. So you're gonna notice you have a push pin down here. For this next step, you're just gonna go ahead and leave that installed. And we're gonna come around to the back side. We're gonna have 3 along the side that we're gonna go ahead and remove completely. We're gonna grab our hinge mount. This hinge mount, you can see it has a little bit of a bend to it right here. We wanna make sure that we have the side that always bends up. So if this is on the opposite side to be bent down, we want it to be just like this right here, where that little bend is up. We're gonna grab 3 of our short hex head bolts here. These will be M8s. And what we're gonna do, now this part here is tricky, but I'm gonna show you the trick on how to get it. So you're gonna take your bracket and you're gonna slide it through like this. And the reason that we leave this lower push pin in is because we're gonna use it to kind of help us leverage our plastic panel out. So right there, I went a little bit too far. The trick is to slide this in here like so and peel this panel right here apart enough to get your hardware started into the cage. So I'm gonna kind of hold it, peel this panel apart, and then I'm just gonna reach up through here with my hardware and get them started into the frame. Now the trick is to not get a bunch of threads started. You just wanna get enough to where it's gonna hold that bracket in for you. And we're only gonna worry about the rearmost 2 right now. So now we've got those 2 started. What I'm gonna do is come around to the front and go ahead and remove this push pin at this point. So once that push pin's removed, we can pull up on the front of this. And manipulate this back around our bracket. Slide this bracket all the way around like this and come in with your last screw. And as you're allowing that to rotate back forward, start your bolt right into the threaded portion of the cage there. Once we have a couple threads started, what I like to do is grab an open-ended wrench and just get in here and start snugging this one up a little bit. Then we'll pry back apart and we'll snug the rear 2 up. So see, all we're doing here is just snugging this up, and as we're snugging, we're allowing our panel to come back around. Just like that. Now, I'm gonna hold this as straight as I can. I'm gonna pull my panel back apart back here, and I'm gonna go ahead and bump these up a little bit with my electric ratchet. Now, I am gonna snug them. You know, you do have to snug them to kind of get this panel back. Later on, we may have to make adjustments. If we do, we just come right back to the same state, leave our push pins out, rotate around, use a wrench here, and then slide it back around this way, and use a socket on this back side. You just want to make sure you install both your clip nuts to these two holes right here on this tab. So it should look just like so. Now we're on the back corner of the machine. You're going to go ahead and dump your bed, then grab a hold of this panel here, wiggle it off, and pull out just like that. And we're going to have a push pin here. As well as down here, as well as down here. And we're gonna have a 10mm bolt right here. Go ahead and remove that. Now our panel's loose. Now we're gonna grab our rear bracket. As you can see, it has this lip here on the bottom, and it sits at a 45-degree angle compared to a 90 on the front. So this will sit in here just like this. What we're gonna do, very similar concept as we did on the front. Just rotate our plastic out, slide our hardware in. Just get our hardware good and started. This one's a little bit easier than the front. Got our rear two started. Now we can just snake this plastic over just a little bit more, and we can get the outermost bolt started in there as well. So it should look just like this. We're gonna take our open end wrench again. We can kind of rotate this back. So there we were actually able to get our ratcheting side of our wrench in. We're gonna take our ratcheting wrench. So again, we're gonna snug these up. Got those snugged, just like so. Just kind of let that bracket lay back in there. It's not fully tightened down yet, but it is snugged so we can start hanging doors. Now we're gonna grab 6 of our M8 by 14mm Allens in our filler panel here. We're just gonna line it up on our hinge. We're gonna get one started. I like to just start one, that way it kind of sits there. Then we'll come down here to the bottom and line it up down here. It's gonna thread through our lower mount into our filler panels. We're just gonna loosely start everything. Just run everything by hand. We're not fully tightening anything at this point. Just run those up like that. Just like so. So we're gonna grab our striker bracket for the passenger side. We're gonna grab our M8 by 30mm hex head bolt and our 2 spacers. So when you go to install this striker bracket, yours should look just like this. So when you go to install your striker bracket, it should look just like this, to where this dog leg is kicking out towards the outside of the machine. Now what we're gonna do is we're just gonna line our hardware up with the 2 clips, the clip nuts that we previously put in. then just get our hardware started into those clip nuts. So I'm gonna grab our striker, go ahead and take our nut, run it up like so. We're gonna run it through our striker bracket, and we're gonna put our lock washer on the backside just like we did on the front. Same exact process. Obviously we don't know where our striker is gonna need to be quite yet, so just kind of run it out like that, and everything's still loose. Remember, we did snug our brackets up quite a bit. And again, if you needed to adjust these, we would have to peel this panel back apart to get in there to loosen the hardware to make adjustments. Then we're gonna take our filler panel for the front, line it up just like we did the rear. Get one bolt started out here. Just like that. And again, we're using the same hardware we used in the rear. And get these two started in. Just like so. Then we'll start the rest of them in our hinge mount. Now we're going to grab our door and we're going to hang it on our hinge pins. Just get it lined up. Just got to, sometimes you'll have to kind of tap this door down on there. And what I like to do is just go ahead and get it latched. Once you get it latched, you can kind of tell what you need to do adjustment wise. We're not going to adjust this one quite yet. We're going to grab the front doors, do the same thing, and get it installed to the machine. Now we're going to grab an M6x25, a flat washer, and our door stop. Put the washer on the bolt, take the door stopper, and just go ahead and start the hardware in here. So you really have to tighten these up once you have the doors fully adjusted to your machine. What I like to do is, whenever my doors are completely adjusted, everything's fully tightened, is get this set to where it applies just a little bit of tension on the bottom of the door. So something like that, the door would come up and hit it, and then I'd reach in over top and tighten that down. Until I do so, I usually just leave it back out of the way. Now we're gonna go to the front and repeat the same process. All right, so once you have your doors installed, we have all our hardware in at this point. Nothing is really tight. We've got everything kind of snug. Now's the part that we get the most questions on, and that is the adjustment. So when you're adjusting a door, there's really no exact process on doing that. The most important thing is, if you tighten something, like let's say you tighten this hardware here, you want to make sure that you tighten the opposite side of the hardware, so this lower hinge bracket as well. Once you have this door sitting where you like it, so what I like to look for is to make sure I have a pretty even gap all the way around. Obviously we don't want the door to hit the plastic or bind up in any way whenever we open it. Once I get it to that point, that's when I'd usually go through and start tightening hardware up. The last thing that I tighten and adjust is my striker. The reason being, we have a lot of adjustment here on the strikers. You know, I usually just like to kind of get it to where it'll latch and then make all my other adjustments how I like my door to sit. You know, it is nice to take the striker though and get it lined up on the latch and latch it in. That way you kind of see where the door lays out at its current state of where you have everything adjusted to. But go through, tighten everything up once it's adjusted correctly, make sure it opens and closes nicely and latches nicely. Tighten down your door stops, and you're just gonna repeat all these same exact steps for the opposite side. Everything's identical, same components, just obviously mirrored for the opposite side. Once you've done that, That's all there is to it to install SuperATV's aluminum half doors on the CFMoto UForce 1000 XL. Be sure to check the description below to pick yours up today, and while you're there, drop a like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one.